Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. In this episode, we're going to be pruning a lot of plants. I have not pruned any of my plants for about 3 months. I'll spend the last 2.5 months or so moving. So there are a lot of leaves that are just like falling off and they're waiting to be cut off, and it's going to be very, very satisfying to do it. And some of them actually have fallen off on their own, so I did not touch them, but I really held back on pruning these plants because I really wanted to film this video for you guys. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about pruning. Why would we want to prune leaves? There are times when the leaves are still photosynthesizing. Let's say this leaf, for example, it is still photosynthesizing, so sometimes we want to make a decision whether to cut them or not. Some leaves are beyond repair. Some of the leaves have infection that would be infectious towards other leaves. So there are many factors in why we want to prune plants, but one of the other reasons would be that you don't want to show this to your friends as they're visiting your home, your friends or family. So this is just very unsightly, isn't it? So we want to do it for aesthetic reasons, but also we want to consider the health, longevity of the plant. And now, just to preface it, all leaves will die. All leaves have a lifespan, and when they die, sometimes they fall off on their own, and sometimes we do have to help them along. But first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sterilizing my pruning shears. I'm going to have a match near me, so we can sterilize the scissors that we cut, because it is very easy for us to spread pests, pathogens and disease from one leaf to another when we're pruning them. And in the later half of the video, once I've run out of things to say, it's just going to be a very quiet and soothing and healing portion where I just cut plants in silence, in solitude, and maybe that's something that some of you guys will enjoy. So stick around till the very end. And then we would want to sharpen every scissors that we have, because we do want a clean cut. And then here's another pruning shears that we're going to do. So make sure you sterilize and really work with a clean tool. All right, let's start with this one right here on this table. I've been trying really hard not to prune this, really holding myself back. But here you don't need explanation, because these are very dead. They are very dry. But actually, this plant, if you study the leaves, this is a sign of overwatering. When you have yellowing like this, that is crispy on the edge, this is overwatering. And if the leaf has turned yellow, but then it's a uniform kind of yellow, that means it's just an older leaf, like an aging leaf that's died on its own. It's just tired. And then with these ones, with these leaves, these are actually overwatering, because water is pulling at the edge of the tips, causing this, I don't know, this kind of browning happening, and then there's a yellow line around the leaf. That is a sign of overwatering. Now, the sign of underwatering would be similar with the crisping on the edge, but it would not have this yellow line around it. And then if it's not in the tip, if it's like around the side or even on the top of the leaf or in the middle of the leaf, you see like yellow spots or browning spots, that's usually fungal or bacterial infection. Now we want to make sure that these are dry. If you see that this browning part here is still wet, that means the infection is still very potent, and that could spread to other parts of the plant. So these are spread by leaves touching each other, the winds blowing them to each other, or pests that are passing them on. And then here's another example. This is a anthurium, and I want to take that scissors that we just cleaned off. As you can see, this is very dry. This is actually some kind of infection. Again, I'm not very clear as to whether it is bacterial or fungal infections, but in my previous video, I explained how I treat them. The treatment is very similar. You just want to use neem oil solution because that's got strong antimicrobial properties. You can also use antifungal sprays for the leaves, but the best way to prevent them from getting infected is good care. If you have good light, good care, you don't move them around, they're happy in their places, and you fertilize them with a well-balanced fertilizer, they'll have a strong, I don't want to use the word immune system because someone commented that plants don't have an immune system, but they will have a strong resistance because they have a stronger, I don't want to say the word immune system, but I'm going to say it, the word immune system, they're going to have a strong immune system to ward off some further infections. So with this, you actually do want to cut them like that, like so. And you don't want to cut into the fresh tissue of the leaf, because that will encourage it to brown up and spread some more. But when you cut around, where you leave a little bit of that brown there, you are really reducing the chances of it spreading to the healthier portions of the leaves. So just keep that in mind. When you cut through fresh tissue, like the green parts, there's a chance that the open wound would cause infection. All right, now that being said, This is actually the best thing for the plant, for the leaves, but it is still unsightly for you guys. And I know in some plant shows, people just cut them clean. They just cut a straight line across, and that's okay too. If you have like a hot date coming over, you have your parents coming over, you want to make them think that you're the best plant parent ever, you can cut them straight up. But keep in mind, whenever you make the cut, in about a week's time, it's gonna start crisping, and it's gonna the crisp is gonna expand when you do that. All right, this is a begonia escargot that actually suffered during the move. Now, this is pretty much damaged, and this happens to begonias sometimes when you move them, when you don't water them properly. But look at the leaf surface. This is more than 50% damage. This is why I want to cut it off, and I want to cut it right at the base of the petiole, because this plant is now draining more energy, and the infection may even spread to other parts of the leaves than it is providing. However, this is another example where the leaves are a little bit damaged. This is probably prior infection, but it's done. I can see that it's dry, it's clean, and then the bottom part here is also bitten or something. I don't know. I think cats actually would chew through this. But if you see, most of the leaf is still intact. This is still providing food that the plant actually needs. This is a plant that is rehabilitating right now. It's gonna need this leaf. Sorry, I'm using my middle finger. It's gonna need this leaf to help photosynthesize and produce the other leaves, which is happening right. There's a little tiny little baby leaf right here. So yeah, and here we have this fern. This is actually questionable. We're thinking, oh, is it more than half damage? Because when it's more than 50% damage, I would cut it off. But in this case, I will. Why? Because this fern is such a fast-growing plant. It's okay, it's not really going to suffer. So you really have to make logical decisions. If you can see, it's putting up fronds after fronds. So we will go ahead and take off leaves that are declining fast, because we don't want to spend too much time or like every week pruning these ferns, because they're such fast growers, and when plants are fast growing, this means they also will shed older leaves faster. All right, so in our hands here we have I don't know if it's dead or not, but it's a Liquala mapu. It was actually in this terracotta pot. I moved it into this pot about 3 months ago before my move. It was living in a plastic pot before, and it did not like it. I keep looking at the top of the media and I thought this was wet, so I never ever watered it because I thought it was holding on to moisture, but I was wrong. One day I stuck my finger in there and it was bone dry. So this Liquala mapu is completely dried out by accident. So what we want to do, because these leaves are no good, they really will serve no purpose anymore, we got to cut it off. This is because the plant is actually actively trying to spend energy to retain these leaves now. That is not going to do anything for it, and also it's unsightly. So we're going to just prune everything off and let it have a higher chance of surviving. Now this plant used to be very gorgeous, but it's actually very thirsty, and I have underwatered it at some point, so now it's dry. And as you can see, the drying part doesn't have any yellowing around it, and I noticed that it's been drooping many times. So it would droop and I would water it again, and then it will perk up. So at some point in renovation, there may be days where I completely did not water this, so it gave me these crisping edges with no yellowing line around it, a sign of underwatering. Also, it's flowering, so when a plant is flowering like this, you really want to cut off the flower, unless the flowers mean something to you. Cut them off. They're expending energy from the plant. This is also probably why it's like suffering. But the new leaf is looking really gorgeous here. All right, this is a Philodendron plowmanii. As you can see here, this is actually overwatering. You see the tip here. It's trying to transpire, it's trying to gutate, it's trying to have water be expelled out of it, but then the water is staying for too long on the edge of the leaf. So this is again a classic sign of overwatering. If you look at this leaf as well, you can see that this is exhibiting signs of overwatering, water stress basically. But it is also having a bit of a fungal or bacterial infection over here and then here as well. When you have a letter C like this on a part of the leaf that's usually not on the tip, this is also a sign of infection. Fortunately, I've sprayed this down with neem oil in my last episode. Feel free to watch that if you want to see how I treat all my plants, and now the leaves are clean and shiny again, and this would stop the infection on its tracks. Here in my hands, this is a Cistus amazonica. This is actually doing really well, but it's so full in the pot and I haven't repotted it that it's like putting out only small leaves like this. But there's a vine with like a tip like this. So what I'm gonna do is I will just cut it, prune it, and stick this in water. I might even turn this into more cuttings because this way I can propagate them. So one reason for you to prune might have been to propagate plants, especially if they're not doing so well. One of the best ways is to rescue them. And this is gonna be so satisfying cutting this, this one leaf off. All right, and we have this fern here. This is a maidenhair fern. They love to be pruned. They need a lot of pruning because if you don't cut it off, they can get really, really crowded in there. Like new growth will have a difficult time coming out from here. Sorry about the construction noise, but here's the thing with maidenhair fern. You gotta be really careful when you cut them because many times I have actually cut this, what do you call this? This is not stems. This is the frond, but this, I guess I'm gonna call it stem for now. Can be intertwined with something that is like fresh, something that is healthy, and you would cut the wrong stem. I've cut off many green leaves by accident before. So you really have to put on good music, really take your time, do not rush into pruning your maidenhair ferns, and it's gonna look so good after you cut it off. All right, and the deed is done. That took only 30 seconds, but look at how much more beautiful this is. And now the new growth has actually a chance to grow out of this. And for maidenhair ferns, they can grow out of nothing. Even if you cut all of these fronds off, if you back away with watering, they can come back. But this is a difficult fern even for me. You do need to keep an eye out for it, which I don't, I have to admit it. But they like to be in very airy potting mix that is allowed to not dry out completely, but not soggy wet at the same time. In their natural habitat, they grow on trees, on rocks, especially near waterfalls. If you find that there's waterfall features, they will really thrive. They love that air movement. They also love water splashing on it, but then water would be runoff from it, so the water is not like logged or compacted because they can drown, they can be overwatered quite easily. And here, this is a Stomatophyllum bipinna tifidum. I have a video on this and I showed this in many of my episodes, but this is huge, and I moved this here in a pot. I cut off many of its roots. So the root to leaf ratio is quite bad. There's actually more leaves than the roots can support. Basically, I cut off probably 50% of the roots, and it's just flopping over because again, there's not enough. This is a Ficus triangularis putting out new vines, but I really struggle with this plant. This is a struggle plant for me. I think it likes full sun. I'm gonna take out some of the vines that are not sightly. But it is trying to produce some branches out of this. And it's still very much alive, but I just don't know what to do with this. I'm gonna take a lot of these weed off as well since I'm at it. There's not enough roots to support water and nutrients uptake to the leaves. And actually we've lost a few of the leaves before and I've removed it. But here we're gonna remove some of the leaves again. This one has died off. Like there's no more leaf on the top. But this is died off, so we're gonna take it off. So it came right off, perfect. And then this one is also coming off. Naturally, it will do that when it's like stressed out, it cannot support itself. It will shed some of the older leaves first. Let's get this Birkin out of the way since we're here. Yeah, it's yellowed up. Okay. And then this one, this doesn't look so hot. Okay, that's the dried leaf. I should have done this days ago. But yeah, when you have this like blocking other leaves, this is not a good thing. The other leaves are not getting any sunlight, but also this may attract, I don't know, fungal and bacterial because it's going to be rotting, right? It may attract some of the rot to the leaves below. So you definitely want to remove that. And then some of these, let me see. I'm gonna have to choose some of the leaves to take off. Hang on, I have to like do a beauty show to look at the condition of the leaf. This one over here, it's not doing so well. If you can see, there are spots on it. This is probably one that the plant would have probably shed anyways. Yeah, I see that it's one of the oldest leaves. It's gonna shed this next, and I'm gonna help it along. I'm gonna help take it off. This way the whole plant can perk up. Oh my god, I should have gotten like a knife. Sorry, but I'm filming in a hurry. Do not do this, this is not good for the plant. You want a clean cut, so a knife would have been much better. But I'm on a roll here. So yeah, I'm gonna take this off. Actually, you can, this is really pretty for like a, like if you put this in water, if you have a nice big house, this can stay like this for about, I don't know, a month or so in water. So when I take this off, I might take one more leaf off. I might, let me see. These top ones, this is a little bit burnt, but this is okay, it's standing upright. Maybe this, let me see. Yeah, maybe this one is showing signs of some kind of stress over here. And let me look at the leaves. the leaves look okay actually. It's not that bad. It's got a bit of tearing, but it's normal. But you know what? Hang on. I'm trying to think. Don't rush me. There. Okay. Here. Sorry. Here it's already torn off like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm just cut it clean off. Cut it off. Okay. And with this, I'm still debating whether to cut this or not. It's slopping over that way. Yeah, I think I am. All right, I changed my scissors, but really a knife would have been better. A knife would have been better. Okay. Yeah, there's something living in here. I don't know. This is sick. This is not normal. So I'm glad to have cut it off. All right, with that being done, I hope that these will actually start perking up because they should. Oh, I might actually take this one off too because as you can see, the petiole here, this is broken. Oh, and then I'm gonna cut it off at the base. Okay, done. So we've taken like maybe 10-15% of the leaves, and now hopefully this will perk up in the next few days. All right, so I think that is all I needed to share about pruning, and I'm just going to start pruning plants in silence from here onwards. I don't think I'll have anything. This one is a spent. Oh, it's a caterpillar. Caterpillar, no? Dia bunga atau?
Bunga.
It's a flower? Okay, that startled me. I thought it was a caterpillar, but it is, I think. Are you sure? Yeah, this is a spent flower. I was so startled by this. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this off. Oh yeah, and one thing that you want to prune off, sorry, before I go quiet, before I go stealth, is when you have plants that are flowering that you want to have actual foliage for, you want to prune the flowers off. This is so that the plant can expend all its energy on beautiful leaves instead of the flowers. Cut aja deh. Cut. when you have an elbow leaf like this, it's better to just take it off. I should have done it a long time ago because it's basically stealing food away from the plant and it's not gonna look good because as you can see, they always will start declining and they will decline first. So yeah, the rest of the plant looks really good though. Okay, so the previous leaf that you saw was actually a little bit burnt. This leaf also looks like it's burnt. This is getting too much bright but indirect light. It was moved here a bit too suddenly, I think. Alright, so we're back at the calatheas. They were actually in a lot of trouble during the move. They did not like the move at all. So we have a lot of leaves that are dying or dead. It's gonna be so satisfying cutting into them. This one is a rescue. It came out of nothing and it was like the first leaf came out and then now there's two healthy leaves. I think this one might just make it. Right. I'm gonna leave this alone. This is not looking good, but this is still helping the plant with photosynthesizing. Checking the back of the leaves. Sometimes there used to be pests here, but I think they're dead now. Nothing's moving. Yeah, I've been spraying this down 2 to 3 times already with the neem oil solution. Looks really sad. This looks really sad. This is a Calathea ornata. Something's growing out of this. This is still looking fresh. This little growth here, but let me take some of the leaves off to have release some of its burden. This one, the leaf looks okay, but it's very bent. I think it was bent during the move. This is also bent, while the leaf is looking good. So sad. There's just so much movement with these plants during the move, and they just didn't like it. Say Calathea black lipstick. I already took a lot of the leaves off. They came off on their own. This was a full pot before, but it should bounce back, I believe. Are you ready for this? This is gonna feel so good. Taking all these off. And the plant will thank you for it too. These leaves are curling. Let me check on them. But they're still okay, they're still alive. But these new growth here, this will hopefully turn into a big Calathea someday. Okay. Ho 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 ho, this is gonna be fun. Look at all these dead leaves. There's something about pruning that is incredibly healing. This is sunburn. I remember this was sitting outside in a spot between 2 homes that received some direct sunlight, and this is going. But the new leaf here, this is looking good, and a new one is coming along the way. So I'm really rooting for you. And by the way, these guys are all going to be repotted. I think they're going into a terracotta pot. They're going to a plastic pot, and then we will not water them as much, because right now in this terracotta pot we kind of water them every day, and I don't know if I want to commit to watering plants every day now. I might want to back away with watering frequency. Satisfying to cut into. I think the media got a little bit compacted because this was coming a little bit out of the soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shake it a bit and kind of have it be a bit more loose. Did not like before, I think. Like I think it was dried out too much before this from this exposed root. So I might actually add a bit more potting media in the next episode, which we're going to film right after this. This is a Calathea white fusion. Look at this leaf here. The new leaf is so cute. Look at that. Oh my god. But then there are some dead leaves here. This is like aging leaf. This is a classic sign of what an old leaf looked like that is aged. Ah, I cut into that cute baby leaf. Oh no. That happens sometimes. All right, there. Sometimes for Calatheas you really have to press the media, loosen it up a bit. They don't want to be sitting in compacted media. All right, there are some ferns here, and I think I'm almost done with the episode. It's shorter than I thought. I thought it was going to be hours long, but I'm going to continue pruning this. There's not many left. Yeah, there's something wrong. I don't think this fern likes it here. There's a little apischia here. I don't know how it got here. I don't think the fern likes it. Somewhere when the plant doesn't like it somewhere, you just gotta maybe change your care, because I'm trying to study it. It may be underwatered at some point. I remember during the move. But this is a maidenhair fern. I think I'm ready to give up. Sometimes when you struggle so hard with a plant and it's not doing so well for your mental health, it's better to just let it go, I guess. I'm trying to maybe buy a new one that would look amazing. All right, so I think we are done for today's episode. It has been so satisfying to do. And I want to thank my camera woman there for helping me film. This is my first time that I've been filmed by somebody else, and it's so much faster than me filming everything on a tripod and moving things around myself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys are growing and pruning your plants well. And just know that this is part of plant care, and it's normal. Sometimes you gotta take away dead leaves and expect new ones to come out. And sometimes you gotta take off dead leaves to save some of the whole plant altogether, because sometimes they don't have enough roots, or maybe it's not doing so well. But yeah, with that being said, if you have any questions about plant care or propagations, feel free to DM me and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. See you in the next one. Bye bye.